You're listening to the official EFL Podcast.
Oh, O'Connell's mistake. McGinn. Green! Potts isolated. Lonnie goes for goal. And what a goal!
Whitbread with a header. Alexander tries an instinctive volley. Oh, what a goal that is! That is one of the greatest goals you will ever see at Wembley from Gary Alexander to put Millwall level. And just look at these fans.
Hello, I'm Ben Turner and welcome back to the podcast. Joining us on the show this week are former Stoke City and Luton Town manager Nathan Jones and Colchester United player coach Jamal Campbell Ryce as we move towards the business end of the season. In the Sky Bet Championship this week, we'll be looking ahead to Derby v Stoke, Leeds against Wigan and West Brom against Luton. In Sky Bet League 1, it's the clash of two of the division's biggest sides as Portsmouth take on Sunderland at Fratton Park. And in Sky Bet League 2, high-flying Plymouth take on Newport. But before we get into all that, let's look back at the Carabao Cup semi-finals.
Advantage Aston Villa, and it's the fullback, Matt Target, who strikes. Harvey Barnes, and it's fallen in. He's only gone and done it again. Swung right round to Trezeguet. And in stoppage time, the Egyptian looks to have won it and booked a Wembley date for Aston Villa.
Back from Fred. And it's led to a fantastic hit from Matic. And Manchester United have given a twist to the tail of this semi-final. Manchester City win the place at Wembley.
So starting with you, Nathan, first of all, welcome back to the show after your recent interview with us. Manchester City in the Carabao Cup final again after that 1-0 defeat against Man United last night, but winning on aggregate. You know, is there any stopping them on their way to the trophy for a third time in a row now?
Look, I think they'll definitely go into the game as favourites, being the team that they are, and obviously their respective positions in the league. But a final is a final. Dean's done a great job there at Villa and did very well to beat a very good side in Brendan Rodgers' Leicester. So look, a final is final. But what you wouldn't like to happen is what happened, in last time with I think it was Watford. But I think Villa are in a good place. They're doing brilliantly under Dean. But look, it's a final, so you never know.
Jamal, how important will it be for City as well to win a trophy at this stage of the season? It seems to have helped them, as they've obviously gone on, to win the Premier League in the last two seasons as well.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the season, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but with a little bit of indifferent form that City have been on this season, I know Guardiola has complained about losing defenders. Obviously, lost Laporte and company. It's been very hard for him to replace them too. But yeah, they've obviously, even last night losing to United, although they got through to the final, which is fantastic for them. I think he'd be a little bit frustrated with the way that they played and the way that not being able to finish off the tie and all the rest of it. But I think it'll be massive for them and give them that much needed confidence booster, which I think it almost looks like they're lacking at the minute. And that sounds strange, like saying that Man City look like they may be struggling a little bit with confidence, but that's been how their season's been, really.
Yeah, Nathan, obviously it will be a monumental task for Villa to win. It sounds like you have a bit of confidence in them though, but what should they do to nullify City in the final? What can they do?
Look, I think they have to probably just play to their maximum on the day. They have to bring their real A game. They have to be, tactically, who knows what they'll do going into the game, because a lot of people have sat off City and got punished. Some pressed them, but they're good enough to play through that. So I think they just got to, obviously, Dean will go in there with a game plan. Their big players like Grealish and so on will have to turn up. And if they do that, then look, they'll have a chance, because they'll get chances in the game. And then it's about taking your chances, taking your moments, and going into there with confidence. Look, if Villa have a little bit of good form now as well going into there, then it'll be like a little bit of respite from the league task. So you never know. And I said, Villa got some good players. Tyrone Mings has done fantastically well there. They've got a bit of a settled squad. They've added obviously in the summer. So look, it'll be a tough game for both teams in different ways. But I'm sure Dean will have a game plan.
Yeah, and obviously Villa won at Wembley in the playoff final recently, Jamal, as well. How vital could that experience be if they have got that chance of beating City?
Obviously, that playoff victory was unbelievable and a great occasion for Villa. They've done fantastically well. Obviously, they had a great season last year and obviously topped it off with getting promotion into the Premier League. And like Jonesy said, playing in the cup final is one game and anything can happen. And they'll maybe look to that Wembley experience 6 months ago to maybe look back on it for a little bit of help and a bit of experience. But just echoing again what Jonesy said, I think they're going to have to be on their A game and almost hope that City aren't on their A game, because they're a tough side. And yeah, Villa have got some great players in Jack Grealish. He's had a fantastic season, and Tyrone Mings, as Jonesy said. But they're just really hoping that everybody's at it and City on.
The Sky Bet Championship.
Now let's move on to the preview show, and the first match we'll be looking at is Derby's match against Stoke on Friday night. Nathan, you're at the game for Sky. We'll focus on your former side to begin with. 2 wins on the spin against West Brom and Swansea. Out of the relegation zone now as well. Did you always see this upturn in form coming, even when you were in charge?
Look, we never envisaged the downturn in form. We were... Our goal this year was to finish as high as possible, and we believed we had a squad in place and a structure and a way of working that would have got in the top 6. Now, we believed that as staff. The players believed that because they set their own goals in pre-season. So it was difficult to take in the position we were. Statistically, we were a far better side than we actually showed. But as you said, we didn't get the results. Now, Michael's gone in, had a little bit of indifferent form, then now started to pick up. And yeah, look, they're in a decent place now. They've had 2 wins. They've got out of the relegation zone, which is a real psychological barrier. And I believe, look, with what they have there, and obviously with the work now that was done previously, and with what Michael's doing now, I believe they'll pull away from there.
Jamal as well, 4 games unbeaten for Stoke. How important is it now that they continue this run that they're on, especially when you are still fighting that relegation?
4 games unbeaten when you're in that position in the league is definitely something to build on. I think it's brilliant. And if you think in the league, the three clean sheets in 3 games as well. So I think that definitely builds confidence. And I think confidence is a huge thing, whether you're at the top of the table, at the bottom. Winning games and confidence is a huge thing in this game. And sometimes even with the best squads that you've got, if you haven't got no confidence, then it doesn't matter who you've got on paper. Stands for nothing, so I think those run of 4 games just now, I think that's fantastic for them. And like Jonesy just said, I just think with the players that they got in the building and the work that they've done previously, and the work that they're doing now, I think it's just a big surprise to everybody that Stoke are where they are in the league, to be honest. Because I was looking at the beginning of the season thinking absolutely nailed on that they'll be challenging for promotion and all the rest of it with the players that they've acquired and got in the building. So with the run that they went on was like a huge shock, I think to most people in football. But now it seems like they're starting to dig themselves out of it and all the rest of it. And I wish them all the best.
Nathan, I mean, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but is it still all about survival for Stoke now, or should they have bigger ambitions? Top half finish maybe.
Look, I think what they will do, I think they'll be very sensible, in terms of, I think the first goal is to get out of the bottom 3. Second goal is to pull away from the bottom 3. And then it'll be, let's see how far we can finish. Job, sort of, the first thing is sort of complete. They've got themselves out of the bottom 3. And I think now the next sort of 3 or 4 game run that they have will determine where they finish. April's, I think, is a real tough month in terms of Leeds away and things and games like that, where they'll be hoping that they'll be well away from any danger zone by then. So yeah, look, I think in the back of their mind they'll have look how high we can finish, but there's probably 2 minor things to do really, and that's to make sure that they pull away from that bottom 3, get as many points as they can, and then they'll be able to start looking upwards rather than worrying what's behind them.
Focusing on Derby now though, Jamal, they may have lost midweek at Luton, but they've got such a strong record at home. I think it's the second best in the league behind Preston. Does that maybe make them favourites going into this one?
Almost certainly, yeah. I think the bookmakers would probably have them as favourites going into this game, and that's an incredible home record. And to have a successful season, you always look for your home record to be solid, and then just to pick up results away from home here and there where you can. Apart from Tuesday night's loss, they went into the game 5 unbeaten, so that shouldn't knock them too much, and hopefully they go back into this game thinking that they can get back on that run.
The Wayne Rooney effect is obviously talked about a lot. He scored his first goal in midweek in that defeat at your former side, Luton, Nathan, as well. How much influence will he have going forward on this Derby side, do you think?
Well, I think he will. I mean, one, just the aura around him, because obviously he's been a top-end player throughout his life, played at the highest leagues, with Everton and Man United, and then obviously went into the MLS. But so the aura around him, first of all, will the respect he'll have from his teammates will lift the demands he probably, I would imagine, puts on certain players through his own sort of characteristics will only help people. And then I think his influence will grow week by week. Obviously, look, he's been used to playing in the MLS without being disrespectful. The MLS is a different environment to what the Championship is. And I think, obviously, he's had a spell where he hasn't been able to play competitive Championship games. So I think now, game by game, he will get stronger. He will get up to the pace of everything. And I'm sure you'll see his influence grow on the team.
Yeah, Nathan mentions Rooney's aura, Jamal. As a player, playing with someone who has that sort of pedigree, would that inspire you?
I'm not sure how it wouldn't. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're a young player coming into the game, or somebody that's had a career already and you're at the back end of your career. Having somebody like Wayne Rooney come into the camp, and that can only give everybody a lift just to try and learn off him what he does on and off the field. Just what he loves doing, how much he works hard, how much he trains, how much he works on his things that he's good at, he's not so good at. I just think it's fantastic. And I can only reference as well, like, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, he tragically passed away. And all this week I've just been listening to current players in basketball talk about how much of an inspiration, how much they used to watch him and listen to him, and how they wanted to aspire to be just like him. And I just think somebody like Wayne Rooney, you have that going into Derby with the players that they got there. No disrespect, none of them are nowhere near his level, being Man United and England's all-time record goal scorer. How can you not be inspired with somebody that's coming into the building with what he's done in the game?
Now let's move on to the Saturday games and Wigan's match at league leaders Leeds. Starting with the home side, first of all, Nathan, it was a far from straightforward win against Millwall in midweek, but how impressed were you with the manner in which Leeds fought in that game?
Look, I've been impressed with Leeds since Bielsa came in. Wonderful club, but I've got to know a little bit of Marcello since obviously I went to Stoke, and they don't change. They go after you. They are aggressive. They go and press. They play with an intensity and a quality. When you play against Leeds, one, you know that they're the biggest club. Two, you know that if you don't get everything right, so people raise their game. So there's always that added sort of difficulty for Marcello's side when, week in, week out. And not a lot of sides have that in the Championship. Now, on week, I think Guy Rouse doing a wonderful job at Millwall, getting results. They went 2-0 up, which can happen. We did it in the Cup at Leeds, went 2-0 up from counter-attacks mostly. But you know that Leeds are going to have a spell, and if they get early goals, which they did on Tuesday night, they can go and build on that, because they will be relentless. And when they're relentless, with the crowd behind them, they're a very, very, very difficult side to play against.
And the win put them back top of the table as well, Jamal. How important will that be for the confidence of the players, especially after what seems to be a tough run for the club over the Christmas period?
Absolutely. I touched on that word again, confidence, just a little while ago. I think it's so big, and you're talking about a club like Leeds who had a difficult period, but some may say that they lost a little bit of confidence. But when you got players like that, of that ilk, and a team like that, and a manager like that, then, and I'm sure he's trying to instill all the confidence into every single player, into the team, and that shows. Jonesy just said there that every team, they change the way they play, and I think they have to, because of how relentless they are, and they've been brilliant over the last 2 seasons in the Championship, and I'm sure, I'm almost certain of it this year. They're not going to miss out, because last season was unfortunate for them, but I'm sure they're not going to make that happen again. 2 years on a bounce.
John Kevin Augustin could also make his debut in this one as well, Nathan. They reportedly beat Manchester United to his signature, but how does Marcelo Bielsa get him in the side, though, especially after Patrick Bamford scored 2 in midweek?
Well, look, that's been the issue, and it leads a little bit, if you can compare them to Tottenham. Tottenham's very difficult for Tottenham to sign the top-end frontman, because pretty much the way they play, 4-2-3-1, one frontman, Harry Kane's going to play every week. That's been the case, really, with Leeds. Obviously, Bamford been playing week in, week out, and deservedly so, because he scored goals, but they had a wonderful goal scorer in Eddie Nketiah, that obviously got recalled to Arsenal because he wasn't getting the game time. Now, that could happen to Jean Kevin Augustin, but then look, if something happens to Bamford, or Bamford has a lack of form, or coming off the bench on 70-75 minutes, they're going to have those two top frontmen.
I want to ask you as well, Nathan, does having him there as well for Bamford, does that push him to play even better? Because obviously he'd scored 2 goals in midweek straight after John Kevin Augustin signed for the club. Does that push him to do even better?
You'd think so, because look, competition produces quality, and it can go up one or two ways. Either someone gets frustrated and doesn't want to compete, or because the other one's doing well, or you get 2 people really, really going at it, which can only help the team. And I'm sure Patrick will score enough goals from now till the end of the season to keep him in the side. But if he doesn't, then they have a top front man to play alongside him or to replace.
Jamal, looking at the match, it looks like a very tough game for Wigan on paper, who've only won 2 of the last 38 away games, but one of those, coincidentally, was a shock win at Elland Road last season, which helped scupper Leeds' bid for promotion. How much do they have to draw inspiration from that performance?
Listen, look, I know it's tough for Wigan at the minute, and I don't think anybody would fancy going to Leeds at this moment in time, but I think they will certainly look back and try and take the positives from last year's result to try and to cause another upset. With where they are in the league at the minute and going away to Leeds, it is going to be tough, but I'm sure that they'll look at the videos from last season's game and try and exploit the weaknesses that they found last year and try and replicate that again this year. But let's have it right. It's not going to be easy, and they're going to have to dig deep and do all that they can to try and get a result there.
Nathan, only 4 points adrift from safety at Wigan after that win against Sheffield Wednesday in midweek. Do they have what it takes to stay up as a team, or do you think they maybe need to strengthen before the window shuts?
I mean, I've watched a lot of Wigan because it's one of my local clubs in here since I left Stoke. Obviously, I've watched a lot of Championship football, and Wigan's one of my local teams, so I've watched quite a lot of them. And I really do think they're in a false position, Wigan. Look, Leeds are not. Leeds are in the position they deserve to be. But Wigan are. Wigan have been better than what they've showed. They've lost, I think, something like 29 points from leading positions. On their expected goals, they're like 7th in the league. So there's not a bad side in there. So look, in midweek, I was at the game in midweek. And after a really stagnant first half, second half, they deserved the win because they missed chances. But obviously, they scored the late winner. They probably do need to strengthen. I think they need, look, not telling them what they need, but I think they're actively looking for a front man, a goal scorer, someone that can convert the chances that they create. And look, it's always nice to get something when you're in a position like that. Always look to bring in a new face or something that give them a little bit of impetus, and that might be the catalyst to give them some points now, which can get them out of the bottom 3.
Kiefer Moore and Jamal Lowe were on the score sheet in midweek, though. You talk about goal scorers, Nathan, but Jamal, neither of those 2 players have really hit the heights of last season yet. I know that Kiefer Moore's in the best form he's probably been in all season so far, but from that step up from League One to the Championship, how hard is it for a player to make that move up?
Firstly, brilliant for them both to grab a goal in midweek, and hopefully they can both use that to kick on, and which obviously we can really need. But that's the test, isn't it? Obviously, being able to step up from League One to the Championship. We always talk about it at any level, really. You'll always be questioned when you're stepping up. Can you handle it? Are you good enough? And the Championship is of a higher quality. It's faster. It's technically better. and I'm sure that's where they both want to apply their trade moving forward. But ultimately, you have to make the grade, and hopefully now they can take them goals in midweek and really kick on and show the club and everybody else that they are good enough to go and do that.
Well, Wigan have lost just one of the last 6 away matches against Leeds, surprisingly. So you never know, there could be another shock at Elland Road on the cards. Now, Luton, another one of your former teams, Nathan, they've got their own David and Goliath task, seemingly, against second-placed West Brom. But is there a better time for them to face Slaven Bilic's side at the minute? Obviously, they're struggling.
Look, I think it's probably the best time this season to probably be playing West Brom, because, as I said, they've had a little dip. But the Championship season is a relentless season. It really is. And West Brom haven't really had a dip yet. Now they're having it. Sooner or later, they're going to have to come out of that. But yeah, look, in terms of the run that West Brom are going on, it could be a good time for Luton. Luton had a wonderful win in midweek at home to Derby, and in dramatic circumstances as well. So that can only give them confidence going into a big game. But as you see, I think sort of 5 of the bottom 6 really have tough games. You know, you're looking at Luton at West Brom, Wigan at Leeds. I think Huddersfield are at Fulham. So there's a real big weekend if you look at that. And I said, even though it's a tough task, one of them are going to create an upset this weekend, I'm sure.
After quite, as you mentioned, a dramatic midweek win against Derby, Jamal, how much was that win needed to give, we talked about it before, but to give them that confidence boost? They would have been 9 points from safety if they had lost that match.
Yeah, I just think that keeps them in touch and distance and can still within that pack. And I think it's massive that they got that result. It was huge, and they showed unbelievable character to come from a goal behind to go and win that game against Derby. Anybody would have thought that would have been it, but they showed incredible character, and I think that's going to be massive from now until the end of the season. It's going to take they got 22, 23 players all to show character, even when you're not involved, to getting in around the players, because the last thing anybody wants is to have that relegation on your CV. And they've really got to dig deep and stay in touch and distance for as long as they can and keep winning games.
Yeah, Nathan, you've worked with a lot of the players there, of course. Do they have what it takes to stay up, do you think?
Look, it's a real difficult question for me to answer, because obviously there's a manager there who was working with a lot of the players that I had there. All I can say is when we were there, we believed we had the nucleus of a squad. Now, look, we knew that we would have had to add certain things in the summer, not a hell of a lot, but a few things. So I believe that they do have enough there. I do. I think they've been unfortunate in certain games with certain errors, as I can well testify to from my time this season. So look, only time will tell. But look, what they do have is a work ethic and a group that are just as professional and as joy to work with as you can imagine. So they have that, and hopefully that will stand in a good stead.
And coming back to West Brom, of course, Jamal, we mentioned that shocking run of form they've been on for a team that are up near the top. In a way, does this game suit them as well? Surely their best chance of getting a win back again, on paper, you'd think, against a team that's bottom of the league.
On paper, yes, but we also got to remember that Luton are absolutely fighting for their lives as well. So it's 2 teams at opposite ends of the table, and obviously West Brom are going for promotion, and every point's vital for them, and but the exact same for Luton. Like, every point is accounted for, and they're scrapping and they're fighting. On paper, yes, you would think it would be a game that West Brom are going to go into and they're going to win, but there is signs of jitters there. This is normal, but for me, I think that they've got the quality and the experience to pull through this difficult stage, and for me, they will pull through it, and they will. I do think that they'll get that much needed win against Luton at the weekend.
It's fair to say that they've got some quite notable injuries in their side at the minute as well, Nathan. Is this a blip, do you think, or do you think West Brom may have run out of steam a little bit, or been figured out by teams in the Championship?
No, look, I think into a Championship season, you have to go through a roller coaster. There's no sort of straight line breeze right through the league. You're going to have a blip at some point because it's a relentless league. You're going to pick up injuries to key players, suspensions. You're going to have a little bit of bad luck. It's how you recover from that. So we'll see. Only time will tell. I don't think you can say they've been figured out. They've got good enough players in the side to win games or win enough games to get promoted. But everyone else around them will have blips, will have tough times. So it's how they handle that. Look, it's a big game for them on the weekend for lots of reasons, but they have been one of the standout sides of the division. So I don't think they've been figured out. I just think it's just one of those spells through the season that every team will go through.
And Callum Robinson has come in from Sheffield United this week as well, we should note, Jamal. They've scored more goals than anyone else in the league of West Brom. So the obvious question is, why do you think that they've strengthened up front?
Great signing for me. Sometimes a fresh face and a little bit more competition, I think, it always can give the whole club a lift, and it could give players in this position a little bit of a rocket what they need. Some players can get stale, lack of confidence, lack of form, and it just gives them that little bit of a boost that everyone needs. I've had it before in the past where you think you're irreplaceable in the side, and before you know it, manager brings in a player in your position, you're thinking, oh, I've got to step up here because he's a new face, he's a new player in the building, and they've got to find a place for him in the team. And ultimately, you don't want your position in the team to be threatened. So you have to dig deeper within yourself and find that confidence and that form. So for me, he can play up front, left wing, right wing, and he's got that knack of scoring goals, plays with huge intensity and energy. And I think that's perfect for what how West Brom play and what they're after.
Sky Bet League One.
Is it going to be Seddon? It's not. It's Curtis! And Curtis scores for Portsmouth on the brink of half-time. You don't save those. What a time to score for Portsmouth. It's Lincoln City 0, Pompey 1.
Chris Maguire on dead ball duty. He can be oh so dangerous with these deliveries with his right boot. In it comes from Maguire, and there's Wyke! Charlie Wyke at the near post, and much to the delight of the visiting supporters, Sunderland are 1-up.
Now on to the clash of the heavyweights in Sky Bet League One as Portsmouth take on Sunderland at Fratton Park. Nathan, both sides seem to be hitting their straps now, don't they? And are these two now the dark horses for promotion after a difficult start to the season?
I don't think anyone would call them dark horses for promotion. I think they're probably two of the favourites. Yes, they've, again, as we said, League One, any English league, it's a tough league to play in 46 games and stuff. So you're going to have ups and downs. They're both hitting form at effectively the right time. Parky's gone in there and had a tough start, but I know he's made a few changes to stuff, and now they get in the benefit of that. And as I said, it's very, very tight up there. One win, one defeat, a back-to-back defeat really can push you out of the top six, and I think these two have taken advantage of that.
Yeah, and a lot of Sunderland fans are, of course, calling for Phil Parkinson's head very early on into his time there, but he's been given that time and by the board, and he's clearly paying off. How important is it that you get that chance, that time as a manager nowadays, Jamal? Do you think?
I think it's the way of football now. A couple bad results and people are calling for your head, or they're against you, or they're saying it's not working. And listen, I worked under Parky, got promotion with him. He's somewhat old school. He is what he is. Some could say boring. He sets up his teams to be hard to beat. But given the time with his teams, they're more often than not successful. Time is something that not many managers are given these days, unfortunately. But I think he's a very good manager, and he's got this knack of always being successful and making his teams hard to beat. And he showed that. He went and got Bailey right in, and I think that's a fantastic signing for him. So he's gone and shored up the back three or four, whatever they want to play. And they've shown that they've only conceded 2 goals in their last 6 games. So that kind of rubber stamps the type of manager that he is. He wants to be strong at the back and make his teams really hard to break down and beat.
Yes, it's similar to Kenny Jackett in a way as well, Nathan. Obviously went through that difficult spell at the start of the season, but seems to be coming good now with that winning midweek especially. How much of a test is this one for them though now? You know, a win would put them into those playoff places.
Yeah, look, it's a really eagerly anticipated game. Full house at Fratton Park, wonderful atmosphere. Two of the best sides, two of some of the best sides are going at it. Great game. Look, Kenny's pretty similar to Phil, I think, in a lot of ways. In terms of sets up his teams, very, very difficult to beat. Very experienced, knows what it does, knows what it takes to win football matches on a regularity. So look, he's come through a tough thing. But the thing is, when you're at these big clubs, you know, even 2 defeats can you come under pressure. That's the price of being at big clubs, and both Kenny and Phil know how to handle that because they've done it in the past, and they both. I know Kenny's well thought of there. I've watched Portsmouth twice away from home up here in the north in the last few months. The games haven't been great, but somehow they found a way to win both games. So look, I'm sure this will be a different kind of game from a lot of League One games because it's 2 minimum championship sides going at it. And as I said, a win, I think, will one cement Sunderland or will catapult Portsmouth.
Sky Bet League 2.
And finally, I want to move on to our featured game in Sky Bet League 2 as Plymouth take on Newport. Jamal, you lost to them very early on in the season to Plymouth, but they were hit and miss at that point, I suppose. Now, though, they've really hit their stride, haven't they?
Yeah, I remember us talking early on in the season, Ben, about saying that they would come good. Their form was somewhat indifferent, but I haven't seen what he done with Berry. Lowy was somewhat remarkable, and now this season with Plymouth, similar to Berry, like play incredible football. He wants them playing the right way. He wants to play through the thirds, and he wants all his players to get on the ball and be comfortable on the ball. And they are a joy to watch. And with the players that they've acquired, I had a really good feeling that they would be strong promotion contenders. And he's proven me right so far. I think they're going to kick on even more, and I think they're going to have a late push. And I really do enjoy watching them play.
And they play that good brand of football as well, Plymouth, Nathan. We've seen it before with Ryan Lowe's Berry last season, and with your Luton team the year before as well. Playing in that attacking style can really pay off in League Two, can't it?
Yeah, look, when I first went there, I was told you can't play well at League Two, and I thought, right, well, I'm in real trouble then, because that's how what we're going to look to do, and you know, if you get the right structure, if you recruit the right way and work the right way, then of course it's possible. We at Luton played against Bury in the FA Cup last year, and it was one of the toughest games we had. We managed to win 1-0. But it was a really, really even game, and to be fair, they were probably one of the only teams to sort of have more possession than us. So you can see how he sets up his sides. Lowy doing a great job at Bury, and then now he's doing a wonderful job at Plymouth. And as you said, to come into a club, he signed a lot of players, brought a lot with him, so he did have a bit of continuity there. But when you go into a new club, it's always difficult to implement your style and to hit the ground running. The pre-season does help, but he's done that, and now you kind of see in the sort of benefit of that. And I said they're a good side. They're an excellent side for League Two, an excellent footballing side. And as I said, especially with 3 going up, it gives them a great opportunity to get promoted this year.
And Jamal, but Newport seem to be a team for the big occasion, beating league leaders Swindon a few weeks ago. Are they a side to be wary of? We saw that that great run they had last season, which began around now, that took them to the playoff final.
That was an incredible run. So they're definitely capable. I think they're definitely a side to be wary of just because of the way they play. They're a team that nobody particularly wants to play. Go back to front very quickly and make no secret of that. They get in your face and immediately and they want to make the game ugly. So it's going to be interesting. 2 very contrasting playing styles, which makes this game very, very interesting. But you know, Newport, like when they play at home, nobody wants to play there. The pitch is horrible, the stadium's not great, like respectively, and all the rest of it. And they do want to go back to front very quickly, and they are one of the teams that want to make games very ugly. So this game, like Plymouth could go into it, and there could be an upset there.
Well, scoring goals on the road seems to be a bit of a problem for Michael Flynn's side. Only 10 so far this season, so you'd think that stat would have to change if they're going to win this weekend. Guys, thanks very much for your time this week, and have a great weekend.
Top man, Ben. Cheers. Jonesy, great to talk to you, mate.
And you, mate. Listen, all the best, pal. Tell Big John McGrail I said hello.
I will do. Top man, mate. All the best.
So thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast if you've liked what you've heard, of course. And remember to have a listen to our podcast with Nathan Jones, a fascinating insight into life of a manager. Join us again next time. Bye-bye.